But we are here for fun, for readings, for a great time, and most especially to hang out with one of our favorite people, one of our favorite writers here in Austin, who is the man behind the One Page Salon. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our host, Owen Egerton.
That's a nice bio. Look at that. It's actually about, I'm presuming this is me, Egerton. This is not one of the other Egertons that you usually...
Couldn't do it tonight, Owen. I couldn't do it.
No, I
didn't have it in me.
I appreciate that. Well, welcome to the One Page Salon. Yes, I'm Owen Egerton. Thank you, Becca. I so appreciate it. Writers League of Texas, so amazing. I love that you're doing that. Anxiety and depression. I don't know any writers who deal with anxiety or depression. Writers are usually just happy all the time, just smiling and issueless. We are fountains of health. I love that you're doing that, though. And this year of which has been, I think, so hard on all of us to find ways that our community can come together and help each other out, and our creativity can be a help to us is really wonderful. I didn't know about that new program, and I love that you're doing that. Okay, so welcome to One Page Salon. For those of you guys who have not been to One Page Salon, it is a gathering of like-minded creatives, readers, writers, publishers, movie makers, whatever, all types of people who either love the created arts or make it or are somewhere in between. And we share from a panel one page of work. So we've got an incredible lineup today. Actually, you can see them on camera right now. You can see them there. In a minute, I'm just going to have them be able to sort of be on their own in the privacy of their homes, and then we'll be bringing them back on. But we've got such a cool lineup of some of my very favorite writers writing today, and just a cool variety of thinkers and craftspeople, and I'm excited to hear whatever they're going to be sharing tonight. It should be a fantastic time. We'll also be having the One Page Salon lottery. That means that if you brought along a page, most of you probably are home, so you probably have that page already. If you would like to join us, what we're going to be doing is basically you can put your name in. Let's see. Oh, this is how we do it. We send Becca a note in the chat box. You'll send Becca a note, Becca Oliver, and you will say your name plus me. Is that right?
Yeah.
Becca?
Yeah, because that way I'll know you're not just like telling me your name, but you're like, I want to do this.
Your name. So if I was doing it, I'd say to Becca, just to Becca, from the chat box, Owen, me.
Yeah, I might want your last name too.
Okay.
Just in case.
Owen Egerton. Okay. And I can see some people are already doing it, but remember, just so we can keep the chat box, we're going to go ahead and free for everything. That's just send it just to Becca. So
I think they might not have that option. They may have to send it to all panelists, which is fine.
Okay, then that's great. By the way, if you don't know about the chat box, I'm sure at this point in the year of the Zoom part 2, you do, but if you don't, it's right down at the bottom of the page. You can click on it, and that is a great opportunity to both applaud with words or symbols, whatever you want to do when the writers thrill you. It's also a great chance to have conversations. It's the one time at a reading where it's not impolite to talk to one another. One of the things that we do at the One Page Salon, well, I think now is a good time. We can go ahead and say a hello and a goodbye to our writers. Dalia Azim and Edward Carey and Amy Gentry are going to be reading. So guys, you guys can, right now, we can take you guys off camera and we'll get back to you guys in just a minute when we bring you up one by one.
And Owen, can I mention one thing really quick?
Please do.
That I forgot to mention, and that is that we are partnering for this event tonight with Book People. We are so thrilled to be able to support as many independent bookstores in Texas as we possibly can. And for tonight's program, we do have a dedicated Writers League of Texas page on Book People's website. And I'm going to drop the link in the chat box because I just want to remind everyone that one of the best ways to support writers is to buy their books. So we'll send you links afterwards as follow-up, but we also wanted to include it at the top of the program and just remind you, whether it's at Book People or it's any other bookstore, indie bookstore, we would suggest we hope that you'll show your support at the end of the night and support these wonderful authors by buying their books. And that's it.
Oh, Becca, I'll just second that. Yeah. You know, I've had my second vaccine, and about 2 or 3 weeks after my second vaccine, a bookstore, Book People, was my first place. So like, I'm going to go inside there. And it felt so great to return to that world. And if you're not buying from those places, those holy sanctuaries to the word, if you're not buying them from now, they won't be there. They'll go away, and you'll have nothing but Amazon and McDonald's. And you'll be forced to read hamburgers.
And Starbucks.
And Starbucks. You'll have Amazon, McDonald's, and Starbucks. That's it. That's all you have. So yes. Okay, so let's do this. I'm not sure who's in charge of.
I'm in charge. I'm turning off the videos.
Okay, great. Becca, you're doing a great job.
Thank you. I'm slowly making people disappear.
There we go. There we go.
Now followed by myself. See you later.
All right, bye. Okay, so Becca, if you would, I'm going to go ahead and take over. You put me, that's very nice. There we go. So welcome again to One Page Salon. So glad to have so many of you with us. One of the things that we do at One Page Salon is a tradition, is we read a page from an author who can't be with us tonight. Tonight's no exception. The author can't be with us tonight, unfortunately, because they died 2,500 years ago. So we're going to be reading just a page from Aeschylus. Aeschylus, who's one of the 3 basically Greek playwrights, or Greek tragic playwrights that we have from the 5th century BCE. I'm going to be reading something from Prometheus Bound, which, just to be a bit nerdy, we're not sure if Aeschylus wrote it. It might have been his grandson. Crazy, scholars are still fighting. And this is the reason that I chose Prometheus Bound. Just so you know a little bit about the story of Prometheus, I'm sure many of you do. Prometheus was one of the Titans, but he switched sides and joined Zeus and the other gods in the War of the Titans. And he was basically Zeus's right-hand man. But when Zeus was ruler, Zeus was like, I'm going to wipe out humanity. And Prometheus had a real heart for humanity. So instead, he stole the holy fire from Mount Olympus, and he brought it and gave it to humans, which gave us art and technology, and maybe some scholars say like our souls. And he was punished. He was basically chained, nailed to a cliff wall for the rest of his life, which was a long time because he's immortal. The reason I chose this a passage from this today, it's a beautiful play, and it's a hard play to witness, is twofold. One is it's Easter weekend. We're on the day between Good Friday and Sunday, Easter Sunday. And this was a pre-echo of the Christ story. There was a God-man, Prometheus, who was being punished by the father god, Zeus, for his love and protection of humanity. But maybe even more so is, I know that it is painful to be asked to witness when an innocent person is murdered or punished unjustly by the state. And this week, as we hear the name of George Floyd, and we're asked, as the trial continues, Siobhan's trial, to relive some of those moments of that horrendous crime, there is a part of me that would rather not look because it's painful. But I'm reminded by, I think, this week, which reminds us of the death of an innocent man at the hand of the state 2,000 years ago, and also of Prometheus, another innocent man crying out for justice. So let me read to you just one bit. He's chained to the wall, and he's talking to a chorus of visitors. This is Prometheus. When it came time to deal with the poor mortals, Zeus intended to erase the race and start all over again. Only I dared defend them. Standing him down, holding my ground, I saved men from total annihilation, from almost certain death. And now I am to endure these terrible tortures, painful to feel, almost worse to observe. I treated men with compassion, but was not thought worthy enough to receive it in return. Instead, I will be displayed for all to see so ruthlessly. Abused. Even Zeus averts his eyes My punishment is a disgrace to the one who punishes me. And the chorus says, someone with a heart wrought from iron or stone would still feel your pain as if it were their own. It was a grave mistake to come here to see you in this condition. It is torturous to witness your torment. And Prometheus answers, I know. I'm a horrible sight to see. That is from Prometheus Bound. That is from a translation by Brian Dorhees, a beautiful new translation. I recommend that quite a bit. It's from his translation of 4 plays. All that you've seen here is God. Okay, well, I think now we can jump to our first reader. We really do have a beautiful lineup of readers. And our first reader of tonight is Dalia Azim. Oh, there we go. Becca, you are just a tech wizard. I hope you're moving stuff, but what's going? It's exciting. It's great. This is so good. This is great. It's like when my parents try to talk to me on FaceTime. Dalia has been part of the Austin community for a long time, and it's just really thrilled. She's read at One Page Salon, but not for quite some time, back at the North Door. She's had fiction that's appeared in American Short Fiction and Glimmer Train, a bunch of other different wonderful places. And her first novel, Country of Origin, is coming out just next year from Strange Object and Deep Vellum in March of next year. So excited. Please put your virtual hands together for Dalia Azim. I can hear you. I can hear the woots. Hey, how are you?
Good to see you. Glad to be here again.
Yeah, likewise.
Wish we were at the North Door, but this is nice too.
I know. It's I miss the North Door quite a bit. That's definitely one of the losses Austin had during this past year. But I know the people who made that place special will just make another place special. They'll do it. Dalia, as you probably remember, every writer is asked 3 questions, basically. I was going to ask you 3 questions. First, by the way, congratulations. I'm so excited for your book coming out basically like a year, almost to the day, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm really excited too. Thank you so much.
Man, okay, that's fantastic. So the 3 questions I've been thinking, I might be changing these as the night goes on, but I've been thinking about, I'm not even sure what order this would be, but one of them is a bit inspired by you, because I know that you also do museum work, and you're well versed in many different art forms. So I was thinking, for you, I know you're a lover of books, and I know you're a reader and are inspired by the written word. Outside of the written word, what is the art that you find most soul fulfilling, most inspiring, and why?
That's interesting. I would say probably like immersive installation art or sound art, something that really kind of takes I guess it's sort of like a book. It's like you just find yourself in the middle of like a whole world with that type of art. And I just, I find when it's done well, it's just really amazing.
Well, you called it immersive
installation art. So just that, I mean, we'd call it installation art, but it is an immersive experience with a work of art. That's really wonderful.
What would be an example? Am I thinking like Meow Wolf? Is that an example of that?
I've never been there. I think that sort of probably bridges a little bit more the art world and the literary world. I mean, from my place of work at the Blanton, the Ellsworth Kelly building is, a large scale installation. So is that Sildo Morellis Penny's piece that's been there for, I think, 12 years, almost since the museum opened. I should know, but I think it's about that. I love James Turrell pieces. I've traveled and seen many of those. I love the one at Rice. So kind of anything in that vein. I really want to go see these cisterns in Houston that I've heard are amazing.
What is that?
It's some underground, it's in these old cisterns. I should have probably done, I didn't know what questions you were going to ask, or I would have been better prepared, but maybe I'll put it in the chat after I'm done. How about that?
That's fair. That is fair. Yes. So thank you for being first. And everyone else gets to hear these questions ahead of time. Here's the second question. It's probably a little easier. It's been such a crazy 14 months or year, or what, I don't even know, the last 12 months, I suppose. What is one thing of value that you have learned or found in this past 12 months?
I mean, honestly, it's just been a really good time of connection for my family. My kids are getting older, as they do. I have a 13-year-old and an almost 10-year-old, and I was having a lot of angst before the pandemic about just how busy my life was and how little I was seeing them. So then we've had a lot of time together, and we've had a great time, actually. I think it's been just getting to spend more time together in this kind of bubble has been really lovely.
That has been really true for our family as well. My kids are just a little older than yours, but same sort of distance. And that has been a really surprising and sweet gift this year. Yeah.
Kind of freeze time for a little bit.
Yeah. By the way, big movie came out this week, Godzilla versus King Kong, which I'd like to point out makes much use of hollow earth theory. There's a lot of hollow earth theory in that movie. I've only just started watching it, but my question for you is, instead of monstrous giants, literary giants, two literary giants versus each other in an all-out battle, who's in that and who wins and why? That's
interesting. I don't know, like Virginia Woolf versus Ernest Hemingway.
Yeah.
And I'm already biased towards Virginia. So why did she win? I think just sheer intellect. I mean, they're obviously both brilliant, but yeah, I'd like to see them both as giants. Kind of just like, I don't know, doing like how would they battle? Just like through words, through physical brute force? Anyway, I'm curious about this, but I think Virginia Woolf would win. And
I'm with you. I was thinking Flannery O'Connor versus Hemingway. Maybe Flannery O'Connor would like come in like Mothra, like and like join the fight as a surprise. That's great. Oh, what are you going to read to us tonight?
I'm going to read the first page of my book that's coming out next year, because it is still technically in process, finishing my last edits in the next couple of weeks. So I'm going to go ahead and read from the first page of Country of Origin.
Oh, fantastic. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you're out there right now, and I want you to have the enthusiasm of a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old that gets to spend 24 hours a day with your parents. You know, just that kind of like, oh yeah, yes, what a year. Make that kind of noise, excitement, because we get to hear now from Dalia Azim. Yes.
Thank you. Okay. 1952. Rima and I watched from the roof as the city burned. It was not a single inferno, but a scattering of fires across the river, downtown. Flames devouring buildings, cars burning in the roads, tiny people running around carrying glowing sticks. Smoke painted the sky gray, and the air smelled like how I imagined cigarettes tasted. I hadn't known that anything was awry when I went down to the kitchen for tea that morning, just a quarter of an hour before. There I found Rima engaged in hushed, excited dialogue with Abu Abdullah about an uprising in the streets. As a courtesy to me, Abu Abdullah ducked out of the side door as soon as I entered the room. The majority of our interactions involved me staring at the back of his turbaned head as he silently chauffeured me back and forth to school. Once Abu Abdullah was gone, I asked Rima if we could go up to the roof. It felt foolish at 14 to seek permission, but the only way to access the roof was via a set of rustic stone stairs off the kitchen, which I'd always considered Rima's domain. I led and she followed behind me at a slower pace, breathing heavily. Besides school, the roof was the closest I came to experiencing the outside world, so it had always been my favorite part of the house. As far as I knew, my parents never ventured up there, saw no reason to. Sometimes my mother would smell the chickens on me after I'd been up to collect their eggs with Rima, and she would make her displeasure clear. Have you been around those dirty birds again? Buildings burned alongside structures that stood untouched by flame. Do you think this is it? I asked Rima as I stared at the spectacle across the Nile. I don't know what this is, Rima responded in a flat tone, also transfixed by the blazes. After a few minutes, she suggested that we go back downstairs in case my parents were looking for us. We both knew that my mother never emerged from her bedroom before noon, and my father liked to sleep in on days when he didn't have work. My parents had separate bedrooms and kept to their own schedules. The only time we all came together was around the dinner table for the afternoon meal. When we returned to the kitchen and found it empty, Rima said I should go and tell my parents what was happening. She played up her subservience when it suited her. They shouldn't hear about this from me, she said. Thank you very much.
Oh, wow, that's how it starts? That's where you start? All right, well, good. Things are happening right at the beginning, right? I'm really excited. So you are in the process now of doing the final edits, the final tidbits. How's that feeling?
It feels great. It also feels a little bit insanity inducing because it's like, I don't know. I always have a little bit of OCD, especially on the sentence level. But right now I'm like, this is it. And it's going to the copy editor. And like, it just feels like all of that kind of, is packed into this revision. But I feel very excited and very good about it. And I love working with my editor, Jill, and can't wait for what's next.
Jill Myers. Jill
amazing.
Myers.
Yeah, Jill Myers, Strange Object editor.
That's really, really exciting. Well, as you know, one of the things we do at One Page Salon is we name every One Page Salon. Although this one, has an incredible date, right? Because it's 4/3, right? So it's the 4th month, it's the 3rd day, and it's 21. So today is 4/3/21, right?
True.
Isn't that cool? Earth below us. Drip. Anyway, we name every One Page Salon, and usually I take a phrase, a few words as a possible title from something you read. I chose Hushed Excited Dialogue because I thought that would be a great name for a reading night.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
Well, all right, Dalia, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for reading that. I'm really excited for your book.
Thanks, Owen. I appreciate it.
We are going to get to our next writer. A little bit of news before we do that, and that is that Jasmine Mendes is not able to be with us tonight, unfortunately. So a last minute thing, was not able to be with us, but we will still be sending out links to her book. Such a really cool writer of poetry and memoir, and actually even has a picture book out on the way, which is really, really exciting. So definitely a writer that we'll definitely have back another time. But our next writer, I'm equally excited about. Lives here in Austin, we're lucky enough, but he's actually was born in Norfolk, England, which I'm a University of East Anglia, so I know that place. He is a visual artist. He is a playwright. He is a novelist. Most recently, his book, The Swallowed Man, it came out, and it is basically a retelling of the Pinocchio myth. I think is an okay way to put it, but it's so wonderfully more and stranger in so many different ways than that. Of course, people love his novel. He's just an incredible human being from everything I understand, and I can't wait to talk to him tonight. Put your hands together for Edward Carey. Hi, Edward. How are you?
Good, thanks, Owen. How are you?
Good, good. It's been a long time since I've been in Norfolk, but I did spend a semester at the University of East Anglia, and I really like Norfolk. It's quite a town.
I love it. I miss it with a terrible ache, I have to say. I long to go back there all the time. And in fact, during this pandemic, I've written the draft of a whole novel set in Norwich. So
really?
Yeah, I love the place.
That's great. Okay, I'm looking forward to that one. And I'm from, actually, I don't know if you know this, but I was born in Ascot, so I was born in England myself. And most of my family outside my immediate
accent has slipped terribly.
Sorry, say again.
Your accent has slipped terribly.
It's true. It's true. At some point, I think when I left home, I left my parents, and I went to school, and I guess it got bullied out of me. I'm not sure. It happens. These things happen. Well, congratulations on The Swallowed Man. Such a beautiful book, and the illustrations are so fantastic. Something, by the way, that I've enjoyed when I think about one of my questions of something that I have a value that has been of the last year has been your illustrations. You've been doing an illustration a day, and I've really appreciated you doing that. It's been this sweet thing that I've really come to anticipate and really enjoy. Thank you for doing that.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and I foolishly said without really meaning to, right at the beginning of the pandemic, that I was going to do a drawing a day until this was all over.
Yeah.
And today I think I did drawing 380 something. Gosh. But actually it's been a lovely way of communicating with people. Somebody will say, please, can you draw me a pangolin? And I say, you must have a pangolin. And it's actually been kind of delightful. It's been lovely. There are days when you think, oh God, again.
Yeah.
Once more. But actually it's been a pleasure.
I see Amy Gentry is in the chat saying how much she loves pangolins now. So you've definitely made Amy happy. And we'll put, is it all right to do this? I was going to say we'll put your Instagram in the chat room so people can follow your sketches. Is that all right to do that?
Of course, absolutely.
Good. Yes, okay. And Becca says it's okay. Social media, I don't know what's okay. Are you ready for the 3 questions that we have? The 3 questions that I'll ask?
Yeah, let me do my best. It'll be a disaster, but go for it.
Good. The disaster is what we're aiming for. So first question, outside of books, what would you say is the kind of art that most fills you up? Not necessarily doing, but that you get fed from.
Yeah, painting. I mean, being in museums, oh God, honestly, I haven't, I'm thinking of Dalia, and Dalia and I waved at each other as we were in the Gregory gym being injected, and it was wonderful to see her. But usually I see her at the Blanton, and it's always a delight to see her there. I miss galleries, I miss art, to get lost in those one-person museums. We have the Elizabeth Ney here, which is a joy to see that one woman's look on the world, and that's I miss that. God, I miss that, and I long to get lost in some art. There's a huge Goya exhibition at the Met in New York. I'd go there. That would be my first. I'd run straight there. When I finished my first novel, I thought, well done, fella. And nobody was taking it or anything, but I just thought, I need a break. Congratulations, I said to myself, silly fella. And I thought, there you go. What are you going to do? And I got a little bit of money, and I went to Madrid to see Goya's black paintings in the Prado. And yeah, God, I miss all that.
Yeah.
Desperately. That and Norfolk and other things too.
Yeah.
People were nice. I like people.
But people rank below those 2.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. All right. Next question. What is, and this goes back, I was saying how you inspired this question, but what is one thing of value that you've found over the last 12 months or so? In what has been a difficult time, but what is one thing of value that you've discovered or learned?
Well, I mean, like Dalia, she talked so beautifully about family, and I think we've actually, we have 4 of us at home, my wife and our 2 kids and a cat that we took in right at the beginning of the pandemic, and we've managed pretty well, actually. I have to say the kids have been amazing and full of imagination and doing new projects. So we've worked out how to deal with the world when it's just the 4 of us, and that's been actually kind of wonderful. It's been a blessing in an awful time, but also, we've worked, all 4 of us. The cat's been terribly lazy; he's done nothing. But the rest of us have done all sorts of different projects and got stuck into it. And we've been patient. We've learned patience. But I'm English, as previously advertised, and I need to get out of Texas. I'm ready. I don't blame Texas. I'm just, Texas is lovely, but I wasn't designed to live here perpetually. And I'm longing to see family and friends. and a countryside that I fully understand.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah,
that's very melancholy. We're doing grand. It's fine. We've been very lucky.
I think, you know, if you were all smiles, I'd be worried. Anyone who's too happy, I'm like, what's going on there? I hear that. So the last question for you, Edward. Godzilla versus King Kong, big movie. What would you choose? Two literary giants instead of two monster giants. Who would you choose to battle, and who would win and why?
Well, I was trying to think. Poor Dalia went first, and so the rest of us have a little bit of time. And I was just thinking, I don't know what to do, and I just thought, well, straight off, there was always an argument at university in England, and I was argued with different writers over time about their loving of Charles Dickens and Thomas Hardy, and that you were either for one or the other. And I love Thomas Hardy, but I adore Charles Dickens. And frankly, I would be very happy to see a very enormous Charles Dickens pan the hell out of Thomas Hardy. Sorry, but there we are.
Yes, I would buy the popcorn and be sitting on your side of the theater as well for that.
Well, it's just, Hardy's amazing, of course. I don't mean to do him down, but where's the jokes in Hardy? He's not funny. I adore Dickens, and actually dipping into Dickens during this pandemic has given me energy and vitality.
Oh, that's good. That is great to hear. Well, we're about to get you, to hear what you're going to be reading from. But I wanted to say for everyone who's watching right now, remember, if you do want to sort of participate in the lottery, a chance to read your own page, right now is sort of the last time to be doing it, because there'll be Becca and her team. She's got a whole team and a computer set up to randomly choose somebody. And the way to do that is in the chat, just put your name and put me. That's the code. Me. It's the code of narcissism to let Becca know that you want to be put into that lottery. Edward, what are you going to be reading tonight? Is it something new or something from The Swallowed Man or?
No, The Swallowed Man's old stuff. That's all dealt with. No, I've been working on 3 books during this pandemic, and one of them is a novel I mentioned earlier, but I tend to keep that sort of thing under wraps until I'm really, truly, it's ready to come out in the world. And the other thing is this drawing that you kindly mentioned is going to be a book in November. But the other thing I was doing is I've been incredibly lucky to have a Japanese translator who I've got to know for many years, and she's translated all my books, and I adore her, and she's brilliant and cranky, wonderfully cranky. So if I write something she doesn't agree with, she says, oh, come on, you can do better than this. She's fantastic. I adore her. Anyway, and she said she'd been reading little bits of short stories that I got together, and she said, we're going to do a short story collection, and it's going to be published first in Japan, and you are going to write some new stuff for it. So I'm going to read one short story, which is 1 page long, which is from that collection.
Oh, well, that sounds fantastic. Super excited. Ladies and gentlemen, as if you're all of Norfolk, England, just screaming in unison, asking for their son to return to the sweet home of England, please put your hands together in your virtual way for Edward Carey.
So this very short story is called Uncle Patrick. Uncle Patrick is best planted in the early spring. Uncle Patrick is a little finicky and requires a deal of attention, especially in the beginning. Do not over-water Uncle Patrick, because then he is liable to rot, and mildew will be seen upon him in small white or black spots. Do not underwater Uncle Patrick, because he is liable to slouch and may take on a yellowish hue. it is advisable to brush Uncle Patrick's hair with a stiff brush all through winter. Do not use a comb. Once he has taken root, do not replant Uncle Patrick. He is unlikely to survive. A hot water bottle placed around Uncle Patrick's topsoil works wonders in February. Some have found that a transistor radio left on perpetually helps to stop a shaking Uncle Patrick, especially during the long nights. In the spring, certainly it is to be hoped by April, and Uncle Patrick will commence to laugh. It is for this noise, especially when caught in a gentle breeze, a cheerful, charming creaking, that Uncle Patrick's remain popular. The laugh on a healthy Uncle Patrick will last long into summer and can at times grow so loud as to make outdoor gatherings brief. Many people in the colder months sit by Uncle Patrick's, remembering their laughter. However, it is also true that many Uncle Patricks commence to sob around November. Some Uncle Patricks are very quiet indeed in this season, whilst others do bawl and blubber. All Uncle Patricks will, in the end, fail. Some develop rot, no matter how well they are treated. Some fall foul to insects. Some lose their skin and have little to protect them. Some have limbs that grow strangely and split the trunk. They smell variously of port wine, mothballs, vanilla extract, and shellac. Thank you. And this is Uncle Patrick.
Edward, that's a beautiful story. That is beautiful. The collection is coming out in Japan first.
Yes, in July. Yeah.
In July. What's the name of the collection?
Citizen Hunger. For God knows we have been hungry for citizens.
Yeah. And do we know when we might see a publication here in the States?
Not yet. I'm about to deliver it to my UK and US editors. So we'll see. But I haven't sent it off yet. But my agent will send it off in the next 3 or 4 weeks.
Wow, that was beautiful. Would you? Someone is asking in the chat. Would you show your picture of Uncle Patrick again?
Yes, I'd be delighted.
Yes, it's definitely not early spring, Uncle Patrick. It's a little later in the year, I suppose. That's
poor Uncle Patrick.
Poor Uncle Patrick. There were so many different possible titles because, of course, I take a phrase as a possible title for the evening from what you read. And so the one that I chose, I wrote down a bunch, but I thought remembering their laughter might be a really beautiful phrase for today's one-page salon. Edward, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being with us tonight.
My pleasure, Owen. Thank you very much indeed.
Well, we are now at the point where we have the one-page salon lottery. I think Becca's going to come up on screen and join me here, and she's going to take me through the difficult way. I don't even know the magical process that the Writers League of Texas goes about choosing who's going to be the literary lottery winner for One Page Salon. Becca, how do you do this? Are you willing to share that secret?
Yeah,
yes.
I'm coming.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot, Becca, because
I'm always excited to be on here with you, Owen. I just I have to put this thing on my desk because I don't like the angle otherwise.
I hear you, and I know you're DJing tonight. You are spinning the slides and making the images sing, and I so appreciate you doing that. By the way, give it up. Go ahead and put a Y for yeah in the chat for the Writers League of Texas, continually doing cool stuff, building community, and in a year where community was more necessary, we discovered, maybe than ever before, supporting writers and readers and at every different level in such wonderful ways. And also just launching a brand new website. Check it out. The website's so cool. They've got so many great things happening all the time. Whether you're just like, for the first time, maybe scratching out a poem, or you've got, several books and awards that are making your shelves sink, the Writers League of Texas is a great place to be. I'm so grateful for what Becca and the team do. So yeah, so good.
Grateful for you. So
I'm grateful for me as well.
Yeah.
Without me, I'd be nothing.
It's been a real pleasure to see you in your shed over the last year and to watch how you've added lights.
Yes.
Like there's always something. I mean, no matter what, you always have that Halloween poster. That's going to be there forever.
Halloween 4.
Halloween 4.
Signed.
But then you add new things. Sometimes you have special books that you're displaying. You really, I like the shed a lot.
Well, thank you. I spend a lot of time here.
I know.
A lot of time in the shed.
I know you do.
Yep. Okay, so who is our literary one-page salon lottery winner?
Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm taking all of these names and I'm putting them in this Writers League of Texas tote bag.
Oh, this is science
so
at its best.
So glad we had 500 of those made for AWP last year. I am glad because now we have them. We use them. Okay, and I'm going to pull one name out, and if you're in the lottery, guys, we're serious about one page. It could be less than one page, but it's no more than one page. And you're next, so you kind of got to be ready.
Yeah, people the jitters. Usually when we say lottery and book readers community, they think Shirley Jackson, and they get really scared. But this is not that kind of lottery.
I'm saying the name.
Okay. Oh,
David R. Perkins.
David R. Perkins. How about that?
Are you familiar with his work?
Oh, I am familiar with David. Quite quiet. The writer has written a lot of different things. Science fiction, like Honeymoon Planet was his book that came out, I guess, 2 years ago now. I'm excited to bring on David. So how
he's promoted to panelist as we speak. A promotion is taking place and being asked to turn on his video.
All right. So David David, how are you? David, you're on mute.
I'm asking him to unmute.
I'm on mute. Okay, I'm off.
Hi, David. It is great to see you.
It's good to see you guys too. I miss One Page Salon a lot.
Yeah.
All I can say is you're right. Everybody's right. Everybody needs to get out of their little cave and enjoy. Let me move this to the other monitor. I'm gone. Let's see if I can make it big enough. Nope.
David, you look great. You're good.
Well, no more so I can see you. There we go.
Oh, don't worry about seeing me.
My buddy helped me do this, so I've gone really high tech. I got 2 monitors now.
That's exciting.
All hooked in together. So, yeah, and I got a bottle of wine that's been sitting on there with your name on it.
Wow.
You're gonna have to claim it one of these days, or I'm gonna drink it.
I know, I'm gonna need that. Yeah, David, for folks who don't know, David also makes his own wine, which is incredible, and made a celebratory Hollow Earth wine when my book came out, which is now appropriate again, thanks to Godzilla versus King Kong, which again stole my thunder. As I was watching that film, so for those of you guys who haven't seen it, this not too much of a spoiler, this happens 10 minutes in, but the heroes find this guy in a basement of his university who's basically the Hollow Earth expert. And I was watching the show with my 12-year-old Oscar, and the guy's like, gosh, I know, I'm the world's expert on Hollow Earth. And Oscar's like, Dad, it's just like you. And then the guy says, I got books. I got 30 cases of unsold books in the shed. And Oscar says,
like you.
Yeah, just like you. Okay, so you ready for your 3 questions, David?
Sure.
Okay, first question: What is art outside the written word? What is a form of art that really inspires you?
I like going to museums and seeing the fine art, but I like to garden. I've like organic garden since the 70s. And I realized when I was doing it, I wished I could draw and paint, but I can't. I don't have the discipline to go through and learn how to do that. But when I do gardens and stuff like that, and it's almost like landscaping, that's my art. Finding a dark corner and finding the right plant to go back to a nice bright flower. So someone goes, there's a yellow flower in that corner, all among the roots of that tree, kind of naturalizing and stuff. I like that.
I love that. I love that.
We used to go to a place called the Morton Arboretum up in Lisle, Illinois. Mm-hmm. And if you've obviously seen The Lord of the Rings, and everything, when you go there, you're in The Lord of the Rings. It is just, it's a tree museum. What can you say?
Oh,
and
tree museum.
Yeah, in fact, God knows how many years ago when I had long hair, my buddy and I had just read The Lord of the Rings for the first time. And my buddy and I were there, and all these crows and everything were circling around. And as he looks at me and he goes, are we getting close to Mordor? It's like, it feels like it because they're all swarming all over. It's almost looked like the Walmarts in Texas with all the birds in the trees.
Yeah, grackles. All right, David, next question. In this past year, in 12 plus months or so, what has been a thing of value that you've learned or discovered?
A thing of value. I'm not sure. I remember we also belong to the Texas Wine Guild, and we were buying. It was our turn, and somebody else was cooking it, but I was going to pay for all the food. And I was getting a special cut of meat this guy was going to cook, and I'm standing in HEB. And while in the back of your head, you know this, okay, to suddenly come to the forefront and realize the system that is in place just to get us our food. Mm. And I mean, to realize, and it hits you how vulnerable we are to suddenly, and this was before the pandemic, this was before the power grid shut down and everything. It's like, to get an acute awareness of that. And you always kind of feel it, but you don't think about it. And then it hits you. And I told my wife, I said, I got this strange feeling. We better stockpile at least enough supplies for 1 to 2 weeks because this thing is so fragile. And sure enough, we got everything stockpiled. Bam, the pandemic hit. There's no toilet paper. We got toilet paper. It's like, it's the sort of thing of value that I've really learned, and I think a lot of people learn this, is how fragile our system really is and how dependent we got to be. We have to be independent enough to survive a few days while the system comes back in. And I mean, you ran into that with the water, with the freezing. I mean, we were fortunate. We had, must be close to a hospital because we never lost our power the whole time. And that's something valuable that I learned, and my kids learned that.
Yep.
And to anybody out there, put aside, now I know why my mom had food in the basement all the time. I had stockpiles of food down there and stuff. Put something aside for at least a week.
ID Quack points out in the chat saying that the Swiss require all people to have a 6-month supply of food set aside. I did not know that.
My daughter's in Switzerland, and I don't know if that's new or not.
Yeah. Most of it is drugs and chocolate, it turns out.
Yes.
6-month supply of drugs and chocolate.
Well, and she scared the hell out of me when she talked about Corona. She's scared. And we got both shots.
How about that? Great. That's good. That's great.
We're doing
okay. Last question for you, David. Godzilla versus King Kong, but instead literary giants fighting. Who is it and who wins?
Well, as for literary giants, I'm not sure. I mean, I'd like to see Tolkien go up to C.S. Lewis, but they were contemporaries and they kind of knew each other from what I understood.
Yeah, they were both members of the Inklings. They would.
So in my case, I think I would put something more abstract.
Okay.
I would like Abraham Lincoln,
okay,
as he wrote,
yes,
go up against John F. Kennedy and at least Kennedy's speechwriter. I mean, that would be.
Who wins? Who wins?
I think they both would.
Would it be a tie?
It'd be hard to just. I mean, the Gettysburg Address, what he wrote that in an hour. You know, it's like, how would they respond to each other?
Well, that's an interesting one.
Have a beer afterwards.
Maybe so. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Two assassinated presidents there. Okay. So
didn't think of that part, but.
Well, yeah, but you know. That's pretty fascinating one. Okay, David, what are you going to read tonight?
Well, I had to rewrite my book, The Dream Stealer. Then hopefully I will get it done by May. I'm on my last chapter, and now of course I've been still working on my dad's memoirs. You end up getting almost having flashbacks because when I hit certain parts, I'm back on Google Maps going across the areas where we were walking and everything. But hopefully I'll get that. Now I'm debating.
You're debating what to read?
Which ones? I'm going to read this one.
Okay.
Because, and I wrote
one page, right? It's one page.
One page and one sentence. Because I have dialogue.
Yeah, James Joyce can make a novel out of one sentence.
I'm not James Joyce.
Okay, fair enough.
If it was James Joyce, you'd be saying, James Joyce.
Okay. All right. Well,
here's a scenario. It's fast.
Okay, I'm excited. Ladies and gentlemen, an old friend of One Page Salon, really great to see him. Put your hands together in some virtual way. Make little whistling noises in your home for David R. Perkins.
Who's whistling? Okay, the scenario is this. These two agents have to go behind enemy lines and get this guy's wife out from behind enemy lines. This is in about the 1750s. Okay. And she's got a code name, but they change it. And one guy's name is Angelo and the other is Wolfgang. I'll start from partway through the chapter. Yes, Mrs. Miriam, Mrs. Felix, and how do you propose we smuggle a dozen wounded men north? Do we fly? Wolfgang mocked. My husband wrote you were a smartass, but I like you, Wolfgang. I prepared. Angelo, there was a team in the barn and a provisioned wagon just outside it. Hitch them up and be by the door in 15 minutes. Mr. Wolfgang, you will get the men ready. They're in that room, Mrs. Felix ordered as she pointed. I'll get my children. Mrs. Felix, your husband is a major, but you're a general, Angelo said with a bow. And you're a con man, Angelo, but I like you too. Now move. Wolfgang gazed at Angelo. You heard the general. Move, he said with a smile as he pushed Angelo towards the door before turning and entering the room Mrs. Felix had pointed to. 15 minutes later, Angelo was at the front of the farmhouse with the wagon. Mrs. Felix had provisioned it as best she could. There was a layer of thick, clean straw in the bed, blankets, bandages, a few loaves of bread, some sausage, cheese, fruit, water, and a couple bottles of brandy. Seconds after he stopped at the door, the men came out. In silence, they climbed into the wagon. Mrs. Felix emerged from the farmhouse with her children. Angela saw two boys who were about 8 to 10 years, a girl of 3 or 4 who clutched a doll, and an infant. He wondered about the ages of the children. If she were the age he thought, why were the children so young? Mrs. Felix handed the infant to one of the men who smiled and held the child as if it were his own. Then she climbed up to the wagon seat as Wolfgang climbed up next to her. He put a blanket over her legs. Thank you, Wolfgang. It's going to be cold. I smell it in the air, she commented. Angelo flicked the reins and the wagon started out.
Suddenly, Wolfgang laughed. "In old Marissa, your code name is Wonderful. You had everything compared. Damn, your husband's smart. He knew." "Yes, I am wonderful, and he knows it," she replied with the first smile they had seen. "Mrs. Felix, I don't mean to be impertinent, but your children are so young," Angelo said. "I Major Felix's second wife. His first passed years ago in childbirth along with his first child. He didn't marry for years. We met at a ball and married 6 months later. I was 20. Our firstborn is living in Binzer. He's a merchant. He has 2 children and is doing fine. I've never seen my grandchildren, a boy and a girl. Our second died in battle serving some stupid aristocrat. Our third died of disease serving the same man. It swept through the army camp and killed hundreds. My husband told that stupid man how to prevent it, but the man was an ass and wouldn't listen. Blast his eyes. So now we have the 4. I pray they don't join the army," she said. "My pardon, I didn't mean to bring up such bad memories," Angelo replied. "Not your fault. Not your fault," she answered with melancholy in her voice. "Not to be an asshole," Wolfgang chuckled, "but how do you plan on getting through the pass?" "I have the universal password. It will get you by any guard post. I learned it from my second-born before he died," she responded. "And the password?" Wolfgang asked. "Cholera."
Wow.
I wrote that before the pandemic.
Wow, David, that's great. So that's the book you're working on now. I know you're working on several. Well, I'm excited.
That's the rewrite.
That's the rewrite.
That's the rewrite.
Well, writing is rewriting. That's for sure. Yeah. David, thank you so much. Really excited to hear about that one when it hits the shelves. Will you let us know?
Yes, I will. I'll probably have to self-publish again, but I don't know.
Okay. Well, I mean,
there's a lot of information out there.
Yeah. I mean, self-publishing is a great thing to do. I mean, don't trust me. Every arena of publishing has its pitfalls. All right, David, thank you. It's so good to see you.
It's good to see you too.
Yeah.
Look forward to when I see you again, and we'll go off privately, get drunk, and discuss politics.
I look forward to it. All right, David. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
All right, so now in the One Page Salon, I hope you guys have been enjoying yourself. Before we introduce our final reader of the night, I just want to say once again, thank you guys, everyone who's here tonight. It has been a wild season of ins and outs, surprises and what we learn, painful realizations as a country and as a culture and as families. And there's been good and bad in all of that. But one of the things that has sustained me, I realize, is readers and writers. The excitement I get when there's a chance to be together, whether it's in the same room like in the old days or right now in this difficult period of time in this way. I find that people who love books are a wonderful community, and there's something about the soul. There's something about the soul that I feel when I'm with people who have been moved and nourished on narratives. So I just appreciate all the readers and tonight, and all the people who are here in the chat, and people who are just being quiet and listening. Thank you for being here. Okay, so our next reader of the night. There are certain writers who are gifted at crafting chills and thrills and weaving a plot that is full of mystery, and that you're turning the pages faster and faster to reach a climactic end. Then there are writers who are so gifted at a sentence, who have characters of such depth and language of such beauty that you're wrapped up in rereading paragraphs because you just love the taste of the words in your mouth. And then there are the very few writers who somehow are able to do both. Amy Gentry is one of those writers. I'm a huge fan of her books, Good Is Gone, Last Woman Standing, and most recently, Bad Habits. Please put your virtual hands together in a mighty way for Amy Gentry. Here she comes. Becca's doing
Here I
it.
am. Can you hear me? I'm there.
I can hear you. You're like the Holy Spirit.
Oh, I have to
can't
restart
see
it. Oh,
you.
I'm here.
Amy.
I'm here. Hi.
Hi, Amy. How are you?
I'm feeling better after that introduction. Thank you, Owen.
You're so welcome. I mean every word of it too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's so kind.
Yeah, I was thinking back, Amy, years and years ago. Do you remember we actually shared the stage at Cactus Cafe? Do you remember that?
I certainly do. I remember that reading that you gave. It blew my mind. It was like the pageant scene, and there was it was crazy. I do remember that.
That was a fun night. And then speaking of One Page Salon, Amy Gentry, like as Becca pointed out, that you inspired us to go into doing this via Zoom and doing fundraisers a year ago. So grateful for that. And then also, of course, you debuted the cover, I think, for As Good as Gone at a One Page Salon. And then I don't want to do any spoilers for people who haven't read your book, but there is a North Door cameo in your last Woman Standing that that was great, because now
bittersweet, right? I mean it, and you know what, in the book the book is kind of bittersweet about it too. I won't give it away, but they talk about the things closing in Austin.
Yeah
I know.
So
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Anyway, it is great to see you again. Congratulations on the book.
Thank you so much.
It's such a good book, and people are raving about it for good reason.
Owen, I also debuted Bad Habits, the first page, it ended up getting cut, but I actually, the very first public airing of what became Bad Habits was at a One Page Salon as well. So I feel like it has figured very largely in my actual writing history here in Austin. So thank you.
You're so welcome. Sure. I'll say. Yeah, really, you could say I co-wrote it.
Wrote the book? Basically wrote it. Yeah.
Basically.
You could just say wrote. Yeah.
Such a good book. And you went to school in Chicago, yes?
I did, yes.
Because, of course, I thought a lot about, where did Amy go to school? Reading that book.
You just do a quick Google. There it is. The book, the graduate program in the book is set in an unnamed northern industrial city. So is it Chicago? We don't know. It could be Detroit, Cleveland. There's a lot of northern industrial cities. Okay. So
just don't know. We just don't know.
We don't know.
Okay, are you ready for your 3 questions?
I am.
Okay, I changed them all, by the way. So if got 3 brand new ones.
Darn it.
Got a book of them. Okay, first question. Outside of books, what is one form of art that you feel feeds your soul?
I think it's film. I mean, it's certainly the thing that I do most with my time when I'm not reading. And in fact, my husband and I, it's also our thing that we do together. So, he, I think, is film is maybe his top, and books are a little bit below, and we're sort of flipped on that. So it's but film is really sustaining for me. And I think it's a completely immersive, it's as close to an immersive medium as we have. It's an entire set of emotions and visuals and sound. And I can't get enough of it. It's one thing we've missed horribly during the pandemic, is going to theaters. And so it's film all the way, and it's comforting. I love horror films a lot. I mean, I've watched, I know, I know we are simpatico on that. I love trash. I love high art. I just love it all. And I'll just watch any of it, almost any day of the week.
I'm with you all the way on all that. It's funny. It's of all the different, when I was putting that question together, I was like, well, everyone's going to say music. I thought everyone was going to say music.
I know, right? Yeah.
No one said music. Which is
I almost did. I almost did, but I just thought, because I would feel like a hypocrite. Music is so emotional for me. And I think that's part of why it's so, it's more emotional in a way than film, but then it's just, to me, I have to like commit to it in a way. Whereas film, it's just like, it sucks you in, like you, you put it on.
That's
and
true.
it just, I can still think about things when I'm listening to music. So,
that's very true.
Yeah.
Brianna's mentioning that films actually have music.
That's the thing. They're music plus pictures. Like, what else do you want? And there's people's faces. Like, if you're not seeing faces, you can go turn on a movie and there's like giant faces.
Yes. Evan from the Writers League of Texas is asking for gamers to rise up. I guess. I guess that's true. There's gamers as well. Okay. And Brandon's going to be watching a special cut of Scream 4 tonight. Okay.
Nice. All right.
That's pretty cool. All right. So the next question is, what is one thing of value that you've learned or realized this year or acquired?
I think instead of saying something I just was realizing the other day that so we have a 3.5-year-old, and I realized just last night or the night before that my husband and I do more stuff now than we did before the pandemic, although we don't leave the house, obviously. But we were in this, still very much when the pandemic started, in this like kind of cloistered phase, to be honest, which, and then the pandemic came and it was like, oh, now everyone is all the time like inside. But because of Zoom and like because of all things like this and other online events, and I'm like, I found myself collaborating with people in a way that I would not have probably done before. My husband is also collaborating creatively with several groups and doing a podcast. It's like, in some ways, being forced to just having everything stripped away has made us pursue a little bit more intensely the things that we do love and like try to get them back, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so like for the first time as new parents, we're like almost emerging from our cocoon, except that we're just mostly sitting in front of our laptops, but it still feels a little bit like a awakening in some ways.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, and it definitely a part of the feel has been, and I think maybe that's sort of come through with the answers from everybody in this way. It's like a bit of the noise gets stripped away and you find yourself working for what you want to some degree. And part of it was like, I realized, and I've been realizing like people, of course, are so excited that vaccinated and like, what are the things that they want to do? And I realize that sometimes you're like, oh, well, gosh, I can't go to the theater, or I can't go out to eat, or I can't go to the bar. And part of that is like, well, you're just describing what so many people who live in poverty have always been experiencing, that they cannot go to the theater, they cannot go to that restaurant, and they can't, that is a reality for so many folks outside of the pandemic. And it is sort of like a time of like, well, what does he really value?
That's a really good word, because I thought that too. Like the last year, when we were in like the worst part of it, I just kind of kept thinking over and over again, like, I hope people are just writing like whatever the hell they want, because it's just not the time to be like, oh, should I, I don't know, this one might be too hard, or this one's too, fluffy. I want to be more serious. Like, who cares? Like, for me, it was like with my art, at least, it was very centering to kind of strip away everything and be like, why am I even doing this?
Yeah.
Like, I better be doing it because I love it, because like, who knows? I mean, the world could be gone tomorrow. Like, just write it, whatever it is, just write it. So anyway, that's a resounding, that I learned that.
That's a good thing to learn. Yeah. And that, gosh, man, that is something for myself that I have to constantly relearn. And I forget again and again. But I mean, in the same way that people go to church every Sunday because they got to relearn something, I think maybe I go to things like this and read. I mean, maybe this is, when I was talking about that comment that I read about Edward Carey that someone described, like he writes the books that he reminds you why you love books, is something of like, oh yeah, there's something I love about this process and finding what I find in these books. And that's what I'm excited about. and as opposed to like what's gonna sell or
and or just I feel guilty, like I should be working on this right now, or someone else wants me to do this. It's like, okay, but what are you like sort of put on earth to write? Like just what would you just be miserable if you never got a chance to write? Maybe go with that for a while.
Yeah.
And then it's super easy and the books just write themselves. No, just kidding.
That's right. That's right.
Problem solved.
I sneezed out a novella this morning. All right. Last question. Godzilla versus Kong, which I still have to watch. After this, I'm going to go inside and I'm going to have that immersive film experience.
Do it.
And watch. I really did geek out, by the way, Amy. Just sort of like that guy, the Hollow Earth stuff. He's got this one globe in there that is it's a prop in the movie. He's just, the professor who hasn't shaved. He's like, I don't know. And he's looking at this one globe. This is a little geeky, but he has this one globe in it and it's opened up and there's like a little planet on the inside and it's like, cool. And I was like, I've always wanted that globe. And the globe comes from a small cult that existed, a utopian cult that existed in northern Florida about 120 years ago. And in this cult, they believed in equality of the sexes. They believed in, all kinds of cool things. And the other thing they believed is that the earth is hollow, but we're on the inside. So this guy's name is Theed. And he believed that we were basically on the inside of the globe. So if we were to dig down, we'd end up in the void. But if we were able to somehow fly up into the sky and go straight, we'd end up on the other side of the world. And they would do these experiments where they'd stretch long pieces of rope and they go like, see, the rope's bending. And so that was what that globe was like, oh my gosh, he's got one of those globes, because I've always wanted one because, anyway.
All the best crazy people are from like 1900, about like 1895 to 1905. It's just like, I love all those cults. Like they don't make them like they used to.
They were much less dangerous at that point. They were just like, they would get some land in Florida.
Yes. Just, equality for the sexes and also this other weird thing.
Yeah. They're like, great.
Love it.
Go to Florida, hang out. That is wonderful. Yeah, it was an easier time in some ways.
Now I kind of want to see this movie. Okay.
Those people are not mentioned.
Okay.
That's a prop in the background, and I just
we have like the little pop up from Owen when we watch it. We can.
Yes. Well,
it's like our little.
They haven't called me yet, but I'm pretty sure I'm doing a commentary on the Blu-ray. We'll see. Okay, so. Literary giants. Who's your Godzilla? Who's your King Kong? And who wins and why?
Okay, well, I guess it's pretty obvious. Like I'm contractually obligated to mention Henry James in every single appearance, especially for One Page Salon. And also, I just happen to have a picture of him right here that a friend of mine painted on wood here to benefit a monastery. It's like an icon of Henry James. Oh. And next to him, you'll notice, is another icon that the same friend painted of Patricia Highsmith. So I feel that, it's clear to me that they are my Godzilla and King Kong.
Yes.
And when I was thinking about who would win, it's like, at first it seems obvious, right? Because Patricia Highsmith, doyenne of crime, she, killed off as many people in her books as Henry James probably knew in his life. And also she hates people and loves snails, and has she even has stories where she kills people with snails. She has snails kill people. So that seems like a natural advantage of viciousness. But I think Henry James has several, under remarked on qualities, such as his very loud checked pants that he wore late in life, an extremely garish fashion taste that would offend her eyes. And also long sentences that could distract and bore her, Yes. So it's really hard to say. It would be a pretty tight match. I think in the end, probably Patricia Highsmith would win, just because Henry James was already dead by the time she was writing. So, she just has longevity, I guess.
That's true. What if Henry would tag out with William James, and William James would come on, the wrath of God.
Yes, good point. So that William was like, varieties of religious experience gonna get you. Yeah, I like that. You know what? Let's just say that Henry James wins because of that.
Cool. Well,
William.
Who knows? It'll be an ongoing thing. But yeah. Okay. What are you going to read to us tonight?
Well, I have, as often happens, I actually have two things that I can't decide. So tell me really quickly which one you want.
Okay.
Do you want the one that's weirder or the one that's more violent? So they're both creepy, but one is weirder and one is more, I guess, action violent.
Okay, I'll let the chat go. It's a W for weirder or a V for violent. I see a W right now. W. Oh, W is winning by a long.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's so funny because I've been in other audience where they were like, violence, give us the violence.
Right. But, yeah.
All right.
Okay. Weirder it is.
I love it. This is from a work in progress. So it's a total mess. So just don't, worry about it.
Okay.
It is from a horror novel that I am currently writing.
Oh, okay. Very, very excited. Ladies and gentlemen, as if you are a herd of murderous snails slowly attacking someone who for some reason can't get away from you. Put that sort of slurping noise to action or clapping for Amy Gentry.
Thank you. Suddenly, as Maddie sat in the great room of the lake house, the sky darkening outside the tall windows, surrounded by the laughter of her husband and her grown children and her oldest friend as they played some ancient board game discovered in the back of the closet, she had the horrible feeling that they were all dead, long dead, and she was alone. Despite all the scrubbing they had done, the stripping and refinishing of cabinets, the fresh paint, there was a fundamental dankness in the lake house she couldn't fix. The thick-smelling lily pads that clogged their end of the lake, the rhythmic sucking gurgle of the sump pump on the dock, the clamminess of the air itself, all seemed determined to advance the state of rot to some awful climax. She looked down at her hands. They were years older than they had been the last time she'd looked. She and Kyle were the same age when they married, but now she was almost silver under her dye. Why hadn't he gone gray? Was there something ghostly about him? The children, too, they all looked preserved, like flies in amber. Their patchwork quality, the way they seemed never quite to be talking to each other, only to her, as if she were conjuring them up, or as if they were dolls and she was making them talk to each other. She wanted to scream. "Mom, are you okay?" said Genevieve. Both her children were looking at her with concern and a faint trace of embarrassment. "I'm going out for a swim." "At this time of night?" "Let her," said Kyle. "She needs her alone time." And she did. It kept her in her body, from which she had first separated 20 years earlier when Genevieve was crying after her birth. They had put Genevieve on the table, not on her chest as she had wanted, and perhaps even asked them to. All her life, Madeline had been a good girl, had done just what her parents wanted, even her rebellions, achingly polite. The height of her impropriety had been majoring in art history, not art. After one session of nude modeling for a life drawing class, she'd gotten a crick in her neck and never gone back. And then she'd met Kyle and gotten pregnant and decided to have the baby. And still it had been the right thing, done correctly. How charmed it had all seemed to their hippie friends. Kyle so pleased to build things like cribs and swings. She had even learned to can and sew because they had decided on a childhood of wood and cotton and homegrown food for this perfect baby. And then came the delivery, an emergency C-section in an operating room like an icebox. She could feel the cold metal table through the epidural like a slab of ice under her tailbone. And before she was even sewn shut, her insides still spilling out on the table, they took that baby away, little Genevieve, and called Kyle over to see Genevieve. And although Madeline had squeezed his hand and begged him not to go, not with words, there were no words left, but with her eyes she begged him, but it was too late. They were in different worlds. She was submerged in a ghastly underworld. She was dead. He was living with the doctor in the brightly lit, urgent atmosphere of the operating room, where when doctors called you, you ran to see your daughter. You didn't wait until they put the guts back in your wife. Madeline slipped off the dock and into the black black water, kicking silently at the tangle of weeds that brushed her toes. Imagined she was flying to the center of the lake under the moon. Imagined her skin sealed tight over her spine, holding her together. Just across the water on the northern end of the lake, on the dirty handkerchief of a beach, a sign glowed in the moonlight. Beware, alligators in natural habitat. And that's it.
Well, I'm very excited. That was beautiful. And I'm scared. And
Good. Beautiful and scared. I love it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. So people are asking already, when's that coming out? But you're
I gotta finish it first. Yeah, we'll see. Cross your fingers that we don't have any more big snowstorms or
yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, Amy, that was beautiful. I'm very, very excited. I imagine that you're still doing quite a bit of stuff, with bad habits and everything.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there
yes.
it is.
Yeah.
Yep. And just excited that you've got the next one in the works and everything like that. That's great. I hope in the same way that you're like, yeah, we read the first page of Bad Habits at one page, that I'll give you 3 months. In 3 months, what comes out. That we'll be talking in the same way. Congratulations on everything you're doing, and thanks for being with us tonight, Amy.
Thank you so much, Owen, and thank you for doing these. It really is inspirational, and we joke about it, but I'm not kidding. Whenever I do one of these, it sends a big thrill through me, and I always do write more afterwards. So thank you.
Good.
And I also buy books.
Oh yeah, double good. Oh, hey, one quick question. You said Curtis has a podcast. What's the podcast?
Oh, the podcast. I can't believe you put me on the spot. Oh my God.
Gosh, I totally put you on the spot.
I have a bad habit of literally forgetting everything when someone asks me a question. So give me a second and I'll put it in the chat while you're wrapping up.
Yes,
I'll put the link there.
It looks like we're bringing back in any of the writers who stuck around with us. We got one last thing. You guys can come back on, but we are going to be right now choosing the name. So I'm going to let people vote of the possible names of tonight's One Page Salon. Amy, for your writing, I chose Fundamental Dankness. Fundamental Dankness is a possible title for tonight, which I freaking love. And for David, I chose First Smile. So possible titles, and you just go ahead and put them in the chat room, and I'll scientifically choose which one it would be. Possible titles for the April 3rd, 2021. The 4, 3, 2, 1. A One Page Salon is going to be called either Hushed Excited Dialogue, Remembering Their Laughter, First Smile, or Fundamental Dankness. Let's see what people are voting. Votes are coming in. Evan voted Fundamental Dankness, of course. Oh, is it Remembering the Smile? Is it that? Oh, some people like the Hushed Excited Dialogue. Oh, it's going to be close. I'm going to go ahead and call it, though. I'm calling it for Fundamental Dankness.
Oh, I was just voting for positive. Hushed Excited Dialogue. Fundamental dankness.
It's just where we are right now. So thank you guys so much. I just want to once again thank the Writers League of Texas for everything they're doing. Check out their new webpage, writersleagueoftexas.org. Is that right, Becca? Am I saying that correctly?
Writersleague.org.
Writersleague.org. Fantastic. And a big thank you to all of our readers tonight: David Perkins, Dalia Azim, Edward Carey, Amy Gentry, and the ever wonderful shining star, which is Becca Oliver, and her whole team. And I'm Owen Egerton. Thank you guys so much for being with us. Keep reading, keep writing, and keep putting good thoughts into the world, because we sure as hell need all of that. Good night, everybody.
Buy books, guys. Buy books.
Buy books. Oh, yes, buy books too.
Good night.